Hi guys, I'm live. I just want to do an update and just talk a little and just my thoughts and everything. Um, First of all, in general about rock and roll, um, especially guitar playing, I want to update a kind of a semi breakthrough I had um, a minute ago, really. But an outlier in rock guitar, at least on the surface, is Yngwie Malmsteen because he basically took from classical music almost exclusively, even though he dabbled at blues. He could play blues, but he mainly did classical. And it seems it can tend to fragment rock and roll if you think of it as him being an outlier. But I was just thinking about it, and he's not really an outlier because he still plays electric guitar. He still gets the rock and roll tone. He still uses 4/4 rhythms or 3/4, same rhythms as everybody else. He still uses guitar techniques that are common, even though he's very good at it. But so are others. And harmonic minor scales should be accepted into the rock lexicon. There's no reason they shouldn't be. They sound good. Eddie Van Halen did it in Eruption. He did dun, 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 at the end of Eruption. That's a E harmonic minor progression. Yngwie just took it a little higher technically, but he's not an outlier. And it sort of to realize that kind of united the musical force of rock and rollers and rock and roll to me. And I think I feel better about just music and rock and roll from that. And now, specifically to me and what I'm doing and David Lee Roth and all that, I have an update about Kai that I think is very encouraging. And this is I just say what I feel. You know, I think you guys know that because I've gone off the rails many times, and I just say what I feel. I feel like Kai is a support to me. On stage, it'll be a comfort to have Kai there because it won't. Every guitar part won't be all up to me. If I want to go do like a lead fill or something, Kyle have my back rhythmically. And I thought about that, and I think I think that I'm actually happy he's there. It's like he's like a net, like safety net. Like no matter what happens, Kai's always there to hold down the rhythm. Not that I couldn't do it without him, but first of all, David Lee Roth wants him there, so I respect that from the get-go. Even if I didn't have any thought positive about it. But I was thinking about it, and I think it will actually be a good thing, David, to have both of us, There's a lot of material to cover. There's not only the Van Halen material, but there's the solo David Lee Roth material, and there's 2 albums of that, plus there's a solo David Lee Roth album without any guitarist, without Steve Vai, which is a different thing. The Crazy from the Heat out. And then there's just the stuff he knows that he can do, Frank Sinatra stuff, and having 2 guitarists, Kai and I, assuming we don't tear each other. No, I'm just serious. No, we'll get along. Will actually be a good thing. Who would want to have to carry all that weight in just one single guitarist? I mean, I'm happy he's there. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that, dude. I mean, I say what I mean. I've gone off the rails, and I say what I mean. And I think about it later as far as consequences. I think you guys know that about me. But I'm the same here. I really mean that, Kai. You're like a friend. I appreciate you being there to hold down the fort. It's like I'm going to want to do some interesting lead things at times, and I don't want the whole rhythm section to drop out all the time when I do. And it allows me to be better too. I can be a better lead guitarist for David Lee Roth with you there, Kai, as rhythm guitarist backing me up. What about Judas Priest, KK Downing, and Glenn Tipton? I don't know who was rhythm, who was lead, but it worked. Having 2 guitarists, Def Leppard, Phil Coleman and Steve Clark, who died of alcohol poisoning. Sorry, R.I.P. Steve. That was 2 guitarists, and that worked, and bands these days do more songs, more prolific because of the backlog of material and everything else, and because of how easy it is to get access to music, not only music itself, but how to play it. Everything's so prolific that I think that was the vision of the future. Bands like Def Leppard and Judas Priest that had 2 guitarists, that was a look to the future where it wasn't a single guitarist like Eddie Van Halen just reinventing rock at each given stage. And, then you had Jimi Hendrix doing it. But even Jimi Hendrix had Woodstock where he had other guitarists there. People don't tend to think about that, but he did. He had Tuma, and he had You just had other people. Jerry Velez, he mentioned it on at Woodstock. He was already starting to experiment with other backup guitarists. With the Axis Bold as Love. I mean, there's all kinds of flute going on, and then with Electric Ladyland, there's seems to be saxophone players involved at times, and there's just, even Small even had David Roth would play harmonica. There's sax players in That's Life. I mean, just have a big party, and why do I have to think that I'm so great and important? I have to be the only guitarist standing there. This really seems egotistical and selfish of me now. So it's what I think right now. I'm just telling you what I think. And having said that, thank you, Fee Fuido, for your helping me. Thank you, Mick Mars, for calling me. That means a lot to me. It does. We're going to go live on my channel doing Wild Side. I'm such a fan of that song. I mean, dude, I think I showed that to Mick. I told him little instances in the video from 1987 that I remember, and I pointed out, you did this and Nikki Sixx did that, and it's like, oh, he gets that I'm a fan. I think he gets that. And David, thank you so. I want to say something to David. Thank you so much for your patience with me, for choosing me, but also just sticking with me and being patient with me, and your people, Terrence Montgomery and Little Alex and Johnny Blue Eyes. They're just and Fung Fi Fuido, wonderful people, very loving and kind and supportive, and see the big picture. You see the picture I don't even see sometimes. I have a feeling you guys see what Jimmie could be when he gets over this pain he's going through. It's not just, well, Jimmie is right now all he's going to be. He blew it. Get him out of here. You guys don't do that. You guys see the big picture. If you can get Jimmie over this hurdle and get him process this, basically my left hand shows a scar that I got when I was a kid, and the scar represents my past and my pain. And all the other lines emanate from it, showing rejuvenation and change and looking forward and healing and growth. And that's what Foom sees in my hand. And when he called that and told me that's what my hand meant, it made sense to me. It actually, that actually fits not just my hand, but the story of my life. Like every time I would figuratively look at my scar, that's when I'm dealing with the past and my pain and all that. But when I look at the other lines, that's coming out of the pain and going forward and healing. And that's also there in the hand too. The hand isn't just the scar. It only starts with the scar. It emanates out all the lines of change and healing and growth. And I'm not a palmist, but Foom is. He told me that. I'm just going with what he said, and it makes sense, and I can see it now that he mentioned it. I'm a Monday morning quarterback palmist. LOL. I'm not even a palmist, but I think you guys know what I'm saying. Anyway, and by the way, that palm scar represents a phenomenon in my life that's gone on since I was born, really, as my being protected. I am protected by something or someone in this life. I don't know what, but I don't know who, what or who. But this scar in my palm right here was 1/4 of an inch deep and about 1 inch long, maybe even a little longer. But I'll go with 1 inch for now. If that would have been anywhere else in my hand by just chance, it would have cut the nerves in my hand or the tendons in my hand, and I'd never play guitar again. But the fact is, it hit me right in the muscle part of my palm here. It was just a flesh wound. And then when I was stabbed in the back by Dorian, black dude, but whatever, in 1995, it missed my spine by 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to do something I wasn't going to do. Make sure I'm decent here. I'm going to show you guys the scar on my back. If I can't, something tells me I can do that. So let me just try. I'm going to turn around, see if you can see the scar where I was stabbed in the back in 1995. So I'm going to turn around, look at my scar. You guys can see it. Don't want to knock the phone away. See that scar? Set up like this. I can't see what you're seeing. The scar is somewhere here. And maybe you guys can see it too. It's healed, so I don't know exactly. It's hard to know where it is exactly, but if you can see a little scar on my back. You see that? I'm going to set it up a little bit. Yeah, that's a better angle too. somewhere around my back. See that? So the knife, basically the knife missed my spine by 3/8 of an inch. That's between half an inch and a quarter of an inch away from my spine. It missed my heart, lungs, spine, and discs. So it was a flesh wound. The day after, I was back on my walks already. I mean, it literally only put me down for that day and the next day of not going on my walks. The day after I got stabbed, I was literally back on my walks. 1995, 30 years ago. So anyway, another example of me being protected. There's all kinds of them. I did work in my life. I had a graveyard shift job as loading packages at Ontario Airport when I was a kid, because it was near my home, and it was also near the Ontario Motor Speedway where the 1983 S Festival was. So was also near my home. I lived in that area. So I was loading packages for a few dollars an hour, $5 an hour or something in 1985. So that was 40 years ago. And somebody was either just jerking my chain, or maybe didn't know what they were doing, and said, "Hey, Jimmy, get that cone over there." And they weren't qualified to tell me that, but I did it, and I went forward to get the cone. It turns out the cone was right behind an engine in an airplane was about to take off. And if that engine would have fired correctly, the engine would have fired right on me, because I was right behind the engine, but the engine misfired. That one engine misfired, and so nothing happened. But I was fired for being a danger to myself. Not intentional, but just being too reckless to be hireable. And I begged the guy to keep me to not fire me, because that was the money I was trying to save money to get my car that I actually owned. I drove from age 18 to 20. So that was from 1985 to 1987. But guess what happened when I couldn't get a job? When I got fired from the job, my dad just paid off the rest of the car. He just bought the rest of the car for me. But anyway, I'm just chatting. I'm just rambling maybe, but this is my process, dude. I make the, just having David Lee Roth and the family and Mick Mars. Mick Mars was like the cherry on top. I mean, he just called me, and it's just like he had nothing to gain from calling me, really. He had nothing but good intentions and friendship extension to me, and offered me his stage name, Zorky Charlemagne, which I'm going to use, and offering to jam with me on live. I mean, what isn't that the definition of a friend? Calls to say, "Hey, can I make your life better? Are you okay?" That is what a friend is, and he's my friend. I love you guys. Peace, rock and roll.